At Women in Retail Leadership Circle, we're proud to announce the release of our 2020 Top Women in Retail Report. The 10th annual list features 36 top women and Women on the Rise honorees, representing the leading women executives in retail today. Download your copy of the 2020 Top Women in Retail list today at mytotalretail.com/resources. Women in Retail Leadership Circle members can access the report by logging into their account at womeninretail.com/research.
Hello and welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm Ashley Taradio, Senior Content Strategist at the Women in Retail Leadership Circle, and today I'm joined by Elisa Beyer, CEO of Spa Girl Cocktails, a low-calorie, low-sugar, ready-to-drink spirit martini. Today we're going to be talking about how and why Elisa changed her strategy and approach to raising capital for Spa Girl Cocktails, why having a strong network is important to Elisa and has helped her succeed, how her small business plans to navigate the current business climate, and much more. So Elisa, thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So I gave a brief introduction, but I was hoping you could explain a little bit more about your background and how you launched Spa Girl Cocktails and a little bit more about the brand.
Absolutely. Well, Spa Girl, my personal background is I am a serial entrepreneur, CEO. So I've been building and selling my own companies since I was 29. And most recently, I went through the process of forming a corporation to actually acquire my first company, which was Spa Girl Cocktails. So that's the high-level background. I've been basically in the beauty business, building and selling companies in beauty with a little dabble in beverage. But I personally had wanted to go into the liquor or the spirits business for quite a long time. And it took me a little bit of trial and error to find what I considered was the absolute perfect company, which was Spa Girl Cocktails.
Great. So the coronavirus pandemic has us all rattled. How is Spa Girl Cocktails adapting? Have you changed how you're communicating with customers at all?
Absolutely everything has changed. And, for us, we are a, CPG, a consumer product. We are sold primarily in the off-premise business, which means national chains. So when you think of that, that's the Whole Foods, the Safeways, Vons, Ralphs, Albertsons of the world. So, pretty much when you own a liquor company, you're considered a supplier. Legally, suppliers have to sell their product to a distributor. The distributor then sells it to your retailer, and the retailer sells it to the consumer. It's a very long and somewhat complicated supply chain. So you can imagine how disruptive this whole process has been, as well as your on-premise business, which would be bars, restaurants, hotels, spas, etc. So the first thing that happened is we immediately canceled all of our retailer tastings. So we did that really before anyone else in the country. It was pretty clear that having hundreds of women go into these stores in multiple states and be exposing themselves and others to tasting the product was not the right way to go. So we immediately had to cancel tastings. We have Spa Girl Cocktail specialists, which are women that primarily go into all of our 369 retail locations, meet with our liquor manager, talk about new product and what's happening. That all got postponed. So we had to do a quick study to figure out where we are, where our inventory is. That is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of everything that's changed in the last 7 days.
Wow. So during these uncertain times, it's extra important to have a solid network to lean on. And I noticed that you had said before that networking was important to you. Do you have any mentors, and how did they help you while launching Spa Girl, and maybe how are they helping you now?
Mm-hmm. I think in the middle of a crisis like this, and frankly, none of us have ever seen and or experienced anything like this, where every aspect of your supply chain is shut down. I don't know that there are very many people who can mentor any of us, to be honest, through this crisis. So I have an amazing board of directors. And to give you an idea, I mean, my board, which are primarily made up of my preferred investors, are extremely successful. They've sold, their venture capitalists. On our call a few days ago, none of them had ever experienced anything remotely close to this. So, of course, they're helpful in terms of what we can do or what we should do. But at the end of the day, as a CEO, you're kind of out here on your own right now, and you have to make the right decisions. For me, my career, I started out as a crisis communications manager. So I spent the first, 8 or 9 years of my life handling really big global crisis, not like this, but for everybody from Enron to somebody who had a plant to manufacturing plant. And I would honestly tell you that nothing I have ever done has prepared me more for the last 10 days than that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. What it's helped me do is to understand very quickly what the crisis is, how to assess its impact on your business, and how to start making all the right choices, or the choices that you think are best for the moment. And just like any crisis, complete clarity of thought is required. You need to be authentic. You need to communicate with all of your stakeholders. So first I started with my team, which there are a couple hundred, what we're doing, getting everybody home, keeping everybody safe. That's always the first thing. And then you just start to build on top of that. So now that we're all, 7 to 10 days, most of us in business are 5 to 7 days deep in terms of everything you've known, how you sold, everything about that has been put on hold for all of our businesses. So now you need to start the second part of the process. So if you look at the first part as saying it was, what is our immediate response and actions to COVID-19? What does that look like for your business? For our business, for example, that was, keep everybody at home. All the retailer meetings were shut down. All the store visits were shut down. We had massive supply chain packaging issues. Our packaging, like most people, comes from China. So we've been dealing with this probably before we even knew what it was. We switched from bottles to cans, which we could get domestically. We increased production, all of those kinds of immediate response things. And we're really just slightly on the tail end of that for this moment. Now what I'm doing, and frankly, what every CEO is doing, and I don't think it matters whether you have 2 employees or 2 million employees, we're all looking at our financial exposures. So what are all of our expenses? What are we obligated to pay? What are our fixed expenses? What are our accounts payable that we're obligated to, but we don't yet have, but we need to plan for that? And what does that whole cash flow scenario look like? And for those of you that are venture backed, you're looking at that now. So you were on a trail. Well, that trail just got stopped. So what kind of process or draconian financial planning are you looking to do? We're finishing that up for ourselves tomorrow. And then on Friday, I would be presenting that to my network, my board of directors, that basically say, these are 3 scenarios that the business is going to face depending on how the virus progresses.
Wow. So it does sound like you're very prepared right now, though.
Yes. As prepared as any of us can be,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you already mentioned that nobody has the answers
No.
during this crisis. But what advice do you have as a CEO and entrepreneur for anybody who is looking to navigate the current climate with COVID-19, or was in the middle of launching their own business?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great question. So I think knowing where your business is in the stage is critical. So we had just closed on a $2.5 million round 2 Fridays ago. So we were, we had the acquisition of the company in October, really started gearing up, very much like a startup. If you think of it, I'm in that boat with everybody because that's a newly acquired company. And we were off to the races. We had just hired up staff members. We were full on where we needed to go with pretty aggressive numbers to get there. That for us has obviously changed. So we're now needing to look at what the financial exposures are. How do we reorient our entire marketing and sales program through an optic that makes sense? For example, there are campaigns, there are programs for those of us, for example, in things like liquor. Nobody really wants to hear about our Mother's Day cocktail right now. So you're having to change the entire optic of your messaging on top of your financials. So for me, the advice always is to not put your head in the sand, which is something that's so easy to want to do. It's the wrong thing to do. You need to get real clear on, the train that's coming down the track and start making the best possible decisions that you can around that. If anybody was in the middle of closing a round, I guarantee you no financing's gotten done. I think if you're needing money over the next 2 to 3 months, that likely isn't going to happen. So there will be no investments being made in non-essential businesses over the next 60 to 90 days. So that kind of deep dive financial planning has got to happen for companies.
That's great insight. I do want to pivot a little bit. You realized while launching Spa Girl Cocktails that when it comes to looking for funding for a woman-owned and led company, the playing field is not level. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about that, as we are obviously women in retail, and I think it would be beneficial for our listeners.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even in this moment, it still matters because people are going to need bridge loans and mezzanine rounds and things like that. One of the reasons that I was looking at this particular industry is that I have successfully raised capital in the past, but not at the levels that I really wanted to. I feel like I was always falling short of what I felt the businesses deserved or what I could do with the capital if I got it. And part of that is that the majority of people you're raising money from are men. I don't know that I've ever really sat in a room with a female venture capitalist who understood mascara and blush and body butter. So it was always it's difficult to raise anyway. I always say it's the hardest thing in business. But it's very difficult when the person you're having to raise money from really just doesn't understand your industry as well. And so wanting to go into liquor, it vetted out very well. And I can tell you that I raised $2.5 million in a short period of time. And it's because I completely reoriented how I raise money. So we're always all told that you need to have your spreadsheets and your decks and on and on. And I literally raised all of that without any of it. It comes down to know your numbers, know them really, really well. This is about your number, not about your product. I used to spend a lot of time talking about my product and my brand. And that's not what gets funding. It's here's the market size. Here are my numbers. Here's what I've done. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's my gross margin. Here's my EBITDA. Here's my exit. Very, very specific, very financially focused and not emotionally focused. So I feel that I switched that up totally. I did meetings. I didn't even bring the cocktail. Before I would have set the whole bar up for somebody. So, I would have been like, let me show you everything. And now I'm like, let's sit down and talk shop. Here's my numbers. Here's my cases. Here's what sold in the industry. Just absolutely top line. I also brought in a great CFO on day one, somebody who really understood financial spreadsheets and could help me really create what I needed to know exactly how much money I needed and how I would do it. And that fundamentally changed the dialogue, which then fundamentally changed who I got a chance to speak to. So the biggest thing is getting that messaging right. And the second thing is find a champion. Never had a champion before. I found somebody who believed in the product, who believed in the market and who believed that I could do it as a CEO. That person came in and was the first person on my board. And, he opened up the doors for everyone else that I had an opportunity to meet. And that made all the difference in the world.
Wow. It kind of almost sounds like they were a sponsor to you.
Yeah, they're more than that. They're not a mentor. They're not, it's more than that. It's a champion. It's somebody who also understands what's in it for them, right? That they're going to have equity. They're going to have part of this. They're your partner. They're in it with you. And they'll tell you the tough things. They'll say these numbers don't look right. That pitch isn't right. This isn't the right group for us to talk to. Somebody who's not just a champion with money. There's a lot of money available. You need to have the right capital. People that can really, like in times like we're going through now, can be there for you and help make sure that your company, ushers to the finish line in each one of its rounds. And that's not something women, myself included, have always been very good at doing.
Yeah. Well, Elisa, thank you so much for being so candid and all your insight. It was really interesting. So thank you for joining me on this episode of Women in Retail Talks, and I wish you and Spa Girl Cocktails the best of luck.
Thank you. And I hope next time that we're talking, we're all in a better, healthier place. And, we can focus on some things relative to women bringing their product to the retail market successfully outside of this crisis.
Exactly. Elisa, thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me, and best of luck to you as well.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at wirlc.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.
At Women in Retail Leadership Circle, we're proud to announce the release of our 2020 Top Women in Retail Report. The 10th annual list features 26 top women honorees representing the leading women executives in retail, as well as 10 Women on the Rise honorees, who are all-star executives primed to become tomorrow's industry leaders. The list features exclusive interviews with all honorees, offering an introspective look at some of the brightest minds in the retail industry. Download your copy of the 2020 Top Women in Retail list today at mytotalretail.com/resources. Women in Retail Leadership Circle members can access the report by logging into their account at womeninretail.com/research.